deep to left center field. Back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch. Hey, struck him out swinging at 101. Swinging a drive, left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
I know it's a busy football day, but it is Friday at 9:30, which means we visit with Cory Provus, the voice of the Minnesota Twins on television. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service in Lisbon. Twins are back home tonight as they take on the Padres, which we'll get to that because San Diego is a good outfit. The Twins just saw a good one in Toronto. For those that will follow the baseball postseason, these are the team they just played and the team they're going to play. In my opinion, Cory, are going to be factors when we get to October.
I agree with you on Toronto because of that lineup, and George Springer has gone back, in the DeLorean and found his swing from Houston because he has been. What we saw this week was that not George Springer in Houston just killing the Twins with leadoff home runs and big swings and just getting on base a ton. Yeah, he's having an amazing bounce back season. San Diego is an interesting study because. Doing some research on them all week, the lineup and the offense has really underperformed. And you wouldn't think that with the names and the firepower that they have. Starting pitching's been okay, but their bullpen has been awesome.
Yeah.
The bullpen acquisitions that they made, and Mason Miller isn't even closing. I mean, Mason Miller's, throwing the 7th inning, 8th inning because they have Robert Suarez to close. But Jason Adam, all-star, was a setup man. He's now throwing in the 6th inning. So even if their starters don't go long,
scary.
Like Nestor Cortez, if he pitches 5 innings tonight, I think they're fine with that because then after they had an off day yesterday, that they are just fine handing the ball over to their bullpen to let them go the final 4 innings.
Mason Miller, by the way, pitched for the A's. That's why people maybe don't know, and he throws 100. So, he throws just gas out there. So that's a guy, if the Padres have a lead late and it's tight, you're going to see him pitch over the next couple of days. Tell us about this last. We're at the point of the season. People know that are watching the games that the season is lost. Really not great, I thought, in Chicago. I thought there was better spirit, better effort for the 3 games in Toronto.
Yeah, certainly a much more competitive series in Toronto. But what we saw on Monday with the Blue Jays putting up a big number against Joe Ryan, that to me, when I look back at the last week, Dom, that's been just a common sight. We had a stat that I think over this was going into Wednesday's game, that the Twins had been outscored like 29-2 over the first 2 innings over their last, 7-8 games. So non-competitive, lopsided early. And you're like, all right, well, it's a 6-1 game in the second for the upteenth time. Which Bob Uecker joke can I tell now? It's like we're reaching in trying to come up with something that's going to be interesting, entertaining, but so often lately the competitive aspect of the game has been decided. That's been just a common sight with some clunker starts here, and then the starting pitching ERA is among the worst in baseball now for a while. Lack of innings has been common, so that it just hasn't been compelling baseball. There have been a few games here and there which have been exciting and entertaining, and even Wednesday's loss, as gut-wrenching as it was a compelling game. It was a close game. There was action. You want the team to win, but you'll take a competitive, fun game to be a part of any chance you get. But we haven't had too many of those lately.
I had this on my rundown to talk about, and I got 2 emails on it as well. Is there something to worry about with Joe Ryan? Last 2 starts have not gone well. You've seen it. What do you take away of what's happened the last 2 times out?
He just hasn't been as crisp, and I think Glenn Perkins, I'm with him tonight, and he's so smart at breaking down pitching. So we're going to certainly dive into that tonight and break it down. You can look at differences with catchers, and I think Joe, there is a noticeable difference when Christian Vasquez has caught him compared to Ryan Jeffers. It's almost a 2-run gap right now, but I think it's more than that. I just in the back of my mind, I wonder, it's like, what happened to my team? If that you want to be a professional, and Joe is a professional, and I don't think his routine has changed. I don't believe it has. But they're just, for all these guys too, I just wonder if for Jeffers and Buxton and the guys that have been here for a lot of good, if now they saw what happened at the end of July, and if that is factoring into their performance, their preparation, their mentality, being like, my team was gutted, and now what? I don't think that's the case. But I think with Ryan, I would be concerned if the velocity was down. And if you saw velocity really taper down, then there might be something that I think would be more alarming than just, he throws his fastball. It's one of the best fastballs in the game, but most hitters are really good at hitting
Yeah.
fastballs, and they have so much technology now that you can help. And it was really neat. David Popkins, former Twins hitting coach, he's the Blue Jays hitting coach right now. They had a machine set up before the game on Monday, and I hadn't seen this in a while, where it was kind of shooting. It was an upshoot. We're trying to mimic and simulate Ryan's carry as best as they can. So they had it on the ground in front of the mound, but on the third base side. So to kind of mimic where that ball is going to come out of. And they had it truly on like an upshoot, very low to the ground. Smart. And I can't tell you I see every team take early BP, but that was certainly something that stood out. And bravo to the Blue Jays for doing that. And if that gave them an edge, so be it.
I tend to agree with you mentally. I'm not going to say checked out because that's unprofessional, but it just seems like just maybe emotionally gutted. Is that maybe the best way to describe it, Corey, from what you've seen?
Yeah, I think so. I think the emotions are a part of it.
Yeah.
They look around and like, I can't tell you how awkward it was that Friday in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Walking in that clubhouse and looking around like, who are these guys and where did the team go? And I'm in there pretty much every day, but I'm not hanging with them. I'm not hanging with them on the bus, on the plane, or all the hijinks that goes on in the clubhouse. It's a sacred place. I mean, it's a very sacred place and a special place to be. And if so many of your guys are gone in a span of 36 hours, I would think that would have an emotional toll on a player. Not to say that it wasn't expected, but at that level, did you expect one or two guys, three guys? Sure. But did you expect 40% of the roster to turn over? I don't think anybody saw that. I'm sure there has been some kind of emotional fallout from that.
Matt Wallner has got the most – how do you describe his stat line for this season? I mean, he's got 20 bombs, but 35 RBI. I've never seen anything like it. Nothing like it.
I don't know if that's possible. I mean, that's
right?
That is incredible. I don't know where that ranks in terms of most home runs and fewest RBI. Now, it does kind of tell, and I'm a big proponent. There's a debate to be had. In fact, Glenn Perkins, he's not a big fan of the RBI stat.
Okay.
He thinks that it's while it's key, it's certainly an opportunity-based statistic. I buy that. But I see the value in it because, Kyle Schwarber has been an example of that he's been a low batting average, high home run, high RBI guy. And I'm like, I'll take that because an RBI, an action has to be performed. You're not driving in 100 runs because you're drawing walks with the bases loaded 100 times.
Correct. Yep.
You're doing something to create action with your bat, maybe an out, fine, but you're producing runs. And that is the most important stat in the game. Strikeouts, all that stuff, fine. It matters who scores. Runs decide games, not strikeouts. How many runs do you score? Do you score more than the other team? That is the defining stat. And producing runs, to me, I think, is the key and a key. So that's why I'm a big proponent of the RBI, but many are not.
When you look at how this lineup that's being trotted out right now, and I mean, it's hard to even project that far ahead, but I think we talked about this maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, so I apologize on the repeat frame of this, but this next 5 weeks, these are at-bats for next year, right? I mean, if you're watching a game, if you're going to tune in this weekend or even early next week, these guys, Wallner's right in that group, I think, with Larnach and a couple other guys, I think, that are batting for or playing for their Twins' future, in my opinion.
I mean, I look at next year, and I feel good about Ryan Jeffers will be the starting catcher. Royce Lewis is going to be at third base.
Yep.
Brooks Lee is going to be at short. Luke Keeschall is going to be at second. Byron Buxton is going to be in center. After that, I don't know. I think the way Wallner is going, I wonder, will this roster have both Wallner and Trevor Larnach on it? If so, does one of them go to Camp Morneau and learn how to play first base?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is, I don't know what happened here, that because you have this surplus of left-handed hitting outfielding still on the
Yep.
rise here, from Walker Jenkins to, if and when we see Emmanuel Rodriguez, but he can't stay on the field. But you have all these left-handed hitting outfielders, and now James Outman and Alan Roden, more left-handed hitting outfielders. At some point, let's try something. I mean, shoot, the Twins were, I think it was a bad idea, but when they tried to have Miguel Sano play right field, that was a disaster. But they've had, Alex Kirilloff, play some first base. I mean, they've tried to do some things. Heck, even Max Kepler in Double-A was playing first base because of an injury to a teammate one season. But okay, he tried it. What I don't know what has stopped, this from happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why. Like Larnick, especially with all the lower leg and lower half injuries he's dealt with his feet and with his legs, and he's been DHing pretty much. He hasn't played much outfield, so I'm sure he's nursing, something right now. He's a good athlete. I think, given the chance, I think he'd be fine. I mean, he's a first round pick, really good hitter. I don't know. I just think that there was something that went awry here. That why haven't we tried to do something else? And Justin will tell you that first base can be taught and it can be learned.
Yeah.
And Joe Mauer did it. I mean, this is something. It's a position that you can shift and learn how to do it. Salvador Perez is doing it. I mean, this is not. We're not asking Buddy to to take apart, the atom bomb here. We're just looking at somebody to learn a new position here and see if they can do it. And I think at some point those conversations need to be had.
Hey, we saw it. It was, dramatized in Moneyball. Scott Hedberg, we saw do it. Chris Pratt was able to play first base in the movie. So,
this is something that I don't think is too uncommon or too foreign. Whether it's been the want, whether it's been the guidance, that's not for me to say. But at some point here, that's got to happen, because I just don't know. I don't know how we see the same pieces on this roster again next season, considering what they added and what's to come from the minor leagues.
let's break. Much more with Cory. Come back. Speaking of the minor leagues, a couple moves there. When we got a few emails, we'll ask Cory of as well as we wrap up hour one. Twins in action tonight with San Diego. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Back with Cory Provus. Appearances brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. Twins and Padres coming up at Target Field tonight. We're just visiting off air because we got the email that the 2026 schedule is out. I love that baseball does this early. Do you look that far ahead or not yet? You don't worry about it till the end of this year.
Well, next year I did. I actually, I'll give you a little insight here. I had the schedule about 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, because my son is getting bar mitzvah next year.
Oh, fantastic.
So I wanted to make sure that, I'm obviously going to take that series off, but I wanted to, make sure the dates lined up and it was all that. So I was curious about, making sure that it all worked out. So I did need to see that ahead of time. So yeah, I'm going to miss the Pirate series for my son's bar mitzvah next year, which is going to be exciting. And then that'll be great. But then I think where I grew up, I'm always, going to Wrigley to me is emotional, and it's always special. And so I knew we're going there next year. And I think that's one of the best highlights of the schedule, is that we're there a weekend out of the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So I think 2 years in a row, the Twins have knocked out of the park, being in Denver this season out of the All-Star break for that series, and plenty of Twins fans were there. And I think plenty of Twins fans will be at Wrigley too to see, that series in mid-July. So, yeah, I mean, then late season West Coast travel is not my favorite, and we do that a couple of times late, not ideal. But I was finally hoping that Shohei Ohtani would be in town when it's not frigid, and thankfully that's the case. So the Dodgers come here in June. So yeah, those are some of the series that I look at when the schedule pops.
So they partly listen to us because we've talked about this the 2 years you've been on my show. We've talked about it. So yeah, they're in June, but it's on a weekday. We got to get them on a weekend. That's the last bridge.
But at least school's out.
That's
right?
true.
I mean,
that is true.
School is out. Yep. That's fine. I mean, I'll take it. Just not the opening
not
homestand
April
of the season.
Nope.
Nope. It looks brutal, and so yeah, that to me I think is great that they'll be here in June next summer.
And the Twins are going to spend the 4th of July at Yankee Stadium as well, which is interesting. That'll be kind of cool.
Fun. Yeah, I've been to. You know what? I know for a fact the Yankees have been in town on July 4th because the great Susan Waldman on July 4th, she wears this very sequenced, bright
Yeah.
vest that has the American flag on it. And I think John Sterling, I think his birthday is
Yeah,
right either
yeah, I
July
believe you're
4th or
right.
July 5th or
Yep.
something there. So I know there was always a big celebration when the Yankees would come to town. So that'll be neat. Yeah, the Twins they play the Yankees and they'll play the Mets. And I think they have a couple of off days in New York next summer as well.
All right, a couple of emails, Corey, I want to get to. One from earlier this week, seeing the news that Walker Jenkins got promoted to AAA. I wanted to ask, is this a potential that he could be a Twin before the end of 2025?
I'd be surprised. I think it's more next season. I think that I don't think that he's not on the 40-man. I don't think there's a rush to do that right now. But I think he'll be in big league camp. Caitlin Culpepper is going to be in big league camp. Maybe even Merrick Houston garners an invite. Maybe just garners an invite to camp just to see it. I don't know, just to see what it's like. And he's pretty advanced and first round pick. He played at Wake Forest, great program. He's already at high A. I think he'll probably start next season in Cedar Rapids and get his way to Double A. But maybe he's not 18, so maybe he's somebody else that earns a big league invite next year. But I think next year we'll see Jenkins debut, maybe a chance that Culpepper debuts. The farm system looks good. I mean, everybody says that, not just me saying that, but that's certainly good to see, certainly post-trade deadline, that the farm system has climbed up the rankings.
Here's another email about a farm system guy, and I know the Star Tribune did a story on him yesterday. Kendry Rojas, a left-handed pitcher. Do we see him in the majors this year or no?
His numbers haven't been very good, so I would say no. If he was throwing the ball better, then I think yes. Barring, remember, Pablo's coming back.
Right.
Pablo's going to make one more rehab start with St. Paul. I think that would line him up to go. They want to keep him going every 5 days, so I would think Pablo then would go on Sunday, one more with the Saints, and then we'll see if he's back in play for that Kansas City series. I think that second series, coming up next week. But I don't think so. I think Rojas, again, he'll be in camp next year. Get a look at him. He was the key piece. I was asked so often in Toronto this week why they traded Louis Varland, and what I gathered from chatting with the Twins front office is that Rojas is the key piece in that. Alan Rodin, we'll see. He's young, left-handed hitting outfielder, high on base percentage in the minor leagues. What comes of that? Fine, but having a hard-throwing left-handed starter in the mid to upper 90s is something the Twins haven't had in a long, long time.
Tell you what, I was watching the Mets-Phillies series this week. It was Tuesday night. Harrison Bader hits a 2-run home run to tie the game, and then Duran came in and pitched the ninth. Like, this is surreal that these guys are playing for the Phillies now. It just still seems weird.
Was that the game that the Mets won?
They did.
Like 5 straight.
They did. They came back and won the game in the bottom of the ninth. Yep.
Yeah, and remember the Twins still play the Phillies this year.
Yeah,
They finished the season in Philadelphia, so 3 games. And I just have this vision that Friday night game, because the Phillies they'll already have clinched whatever they're going to be a playoff team, division, wild card, whatever, and it'll be decided that weekend, long before that weekend.
Yeah.
But man, that Friday night first game, save situation, Duran's entrance hits, man, it's gonna sting.
Yep.
It's gonna be when I told my son that Duran got traded, he was in tears.
Wow.
He was in tears. He had Durant's entrance on his phone, on his watch. He doesn't have a phone, but he's got it on his watch. So he'd play that every now and then. So when he'd come to games and Durant's entrance would hit, he'd play that on his watch. And he was pretty emotional about that one. Probably the toughest news I gave him since they traded Brian Dozier back in, 18?
Yeah.
That one didn't go over well in the house either.
Last thing for tonight. Speaking off of that, this is why he's a TV pro, folks. What do we think the reception is going to be for Luis Arraez tonight?
Massive.
Yeah.
First time back. Also, Nick Punto is back. Nick Punto is on the Padres coaching staff.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
wow.
So Nick Punto is going to be back. So I believe the Twins have 2 video tributes that they're going to run tonight.
Nice.
One for Arraez, which I think could be really awesome. Yeah. First time back, because every time the Twins have played out of San Diego, Miami, he was on the road. So I think he'll get a big hand. And he's going to be a fascinating free agent study, too, because the only thing he's doing well is batting average. And what kind of market is there for that in today's game?
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, nothing. Power, nothing. Doesn't strike out. Hits for average. But that's it. and it's going to be fascinating to see what kind of market he has, coming as a free agent this winter. But yeah, but Punto, I think he's been back for different Twins events over the years, but never with another team in this kind of
Oh.
manner. So I think that's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yesterday he played golf because they were off here in town yesterday. So it was a foursome of Mauer, Morneau, Perkins, and Punto. And I guess Punto is a great golfer.
Oh.
Like he's scratch, if not, shooting under par. He's a really good golfer. So I'd imagine that Mauer is a natural, as Justin says. It's so annoying because Justin has to work at it, simulator.
Mauer's good at
hit,
everything,
and Mauer
right.
just can go grab a club and go. So that was pretty cool. As sidebar too, my son and I, my family went to, we're Hopkins family here in town, but they played Edina last night, and Edina varsity football smoked them. We got a chance to watch Mason West.
Yeah.
Who was drafted number 1 by the Blackhawks, and he's the quarterback for Edina. Speaking of Joe Mauer kind of talent at the high school level, it's an impressive young man that we got a chance to watch last night play football.
Yeah, he could have gone and played college football at a pretty high level, and instead he's going to go play professional hockey, which is unbelievable. So
it's pretty cool.
Great to see you, bud. Have a great call this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week, okay?
All right, Dom. Thanks, buddy.
Good to see you. There he goes, Cory Provus, voice of the Minnesota Twins on television. Twins and Padres coming up tonight at Target Field at 7 o'clock. His appearances each and every week are brought to us by Welton's Tire Service down in Lisbon. We appreciate their sponsorship for his segment. We'll break. We come back. We'll start our second hour of Big Football Hour. We're heading to Charleston in about 2 hours. Our next guest lives there. He'll give us the lowdown on what the Citadel are going to bring to town tomorrow. That's coming up. We come back.